6 months in, still fighting the very folks trying to figure this healthcare thing out. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. And half a year after the sale, the president's still desperately trying to close the deal, even if the deal is now law, perhaps because 61% of voters favor repealing that law. So the president surrounds himself today with folks he says are already benefiting from it. On the same day, we see in print his health secretary saying those who don't like the law must be confused about it. Betsy McCaughey's had enough of it. The former New York State lieutenant governor says this thing is flatlining and fast. You know what's weird? First of all, Betsy, 6 months later, trying to sell something. I've never seen a car salesman do that.
That's right, especially with the word free, which the president often uses now, just like a huckster, to describe things like preventative care. And starting tomorrow, policies will force you to pay upfront for any preventive care services like mammograms, colonoscopies, smoking cessation programs. You have to pay 100% in full for all of that in your premium.
Well, this was not trumpeted this way. I remember early on it was going to be short-term gain, maybe long-term pain. You're saying we're getting more short-term pain and long-term pain.
That's right. Many, many millions of people have received notices in the mail that their premiums are going up. And starting tomorrow, there are several costly changes in this law.
We should point out, if you can see this at home, guys, Betsy always brings us with her. She has no life. But this is the healthcare law itself, 20-some odd.
Let me give you an example of the ones that really cost everybody big bucks, even though they do have appeal for some people. One is that no longer can insurance companies put a lifetime cap on what they're willing to pay out for you. Well, that sounds good, and it's appealing for people with chronic health problems. But, for example, Anthem in Connecticut estimates it's going to add 22% to the cost of a health plan. And, the fact is that all insurance has caps. Your homeowners has a cap. Your auto insurance has a cap. If they lifted the cap, you'd pay more for that,
But to the administration's point, Betsy, I always wonder when insurance companies says, oh, we're going to lift premiums 9 to, in the case of some commercial folks, 25%. And they're saying it's health care law. How can I be so sure that's just not an excuse to screw me?
Well, actually, the new law requires that insurance companies pay a specific portion of their premiums out in health care.
No, that I understand.
Right.
But how do I know they're not using this as an excuse to gouge me, though? That has nothing to do with
Well, the states already regulate premiums in many, many states. California, for example, just announced that overall premiums will go up 19% a year. They've actually reviewed the applications of the insurance companies and concluded that it's because of higher costs, largely under this law.
Because now you have Kathleen Sebelius, the health secretary, say, well, we're collecting names and numbers and we're watching the guys who
That's real arm-twisting Chicago style.
But having said that, is there anything to that point that we knew premiums would go up? Very few of us knew that, maybe you did, that they would go up this much.
Well, actually, the administration's own agency, Center for Medicare and Medicaid, just issued a report saying not only are premiums going up now, but they look ahead all the way to 2019 and say every single one of those years, your premium is going to be higher than it would have been had this law not passed.
So where's this whole thing going? I mean, obviously, Republicans have promised to choke it of funding. But beyond that, what's really going to happen?
Well, two things are going to happen. One is this big, fat 2,600-page law is being challenged in the courts. 21 states have challenged the constitutionality of it.
And you think that still is a very good case?
Oh, yes. In fact, Virginia, one of the states, won the first round in court August 1st when they defeated the administration's motion to throw the case out of court. And now, October 18th, they're going to trial. So that's a big step forward.
Well, here's what's weird, though, Betsy. I mean, this thing is the law of the land. Now, it might be a fractured law. It might be a very much challenged law, but it is the law of the land. So it's very difficult to undo a law. You're right. In the courts, they can do it all.
Well, this is like a house of cards.
I know.
Right.
And a lot rests on how this dominoes out. But don't you find it weird that so many in the administration, including the president himself, are still trying to sell it? It's as if they have serious doubts themselves.
Well, they know that the election will hinge on what people believe about this health law. The president has labeled this the major accomplishment of his administration. So there's a lot of politics riding on this, but I'm looking at it from the point of view of a family. It sounds good, for example, that you can put your kids on your health plan until their 26th birthday, but it is going to push up premiums. There is no
My daughter liked that aspect of it.
There's no tooth fairy. You get more, you pay more. And
well, the tooth fairy's covered, by the way.
This law takes away your choice. You have to get the sky's the limit plan with no cap on payouts. You have to get the smorgasbord with all the preventive care paid for up front. You have to get all of these
And the
quote,
colonoscopies.
protections.
Don't forget the colonoscopies.
That's right, and that hurts.
Yeah, well, in more ways than one.
Right.
Betsy McCaughey, thank you very much. The woman is an encyclopedia.